How many times have you caught yourself thinking, if only I had more money, more time, or more experience, then I could get started? I want to tell you today, that line of thinking is the biggest obstacle to your success. The truth is, the moment you're waiting for will never come. Instead, you have to take this moment, however imperfect it may seem, and turn it into the opportunity that will change your life. Today, let me share a story from my own life that taught me this very lesson, and it could change your life too. I used to believe that success was all about timing, that if you just waited long enough, the perfect moment would arrive and everything would fall into place. But life doesn't work that way. More often than not, the perfect moment is the one you create, not the one you wait for. Think about it, how many people have great ideas but never act on them? They're waiting for the stars to align, for that one opportunity to knock at their door. But successful people understand that they are the ones who need to take the first step. The moment you stop waiting for the right conditions and start creating them is the moment your life changes. I remember a time early in my career when I was at a crossroads. I wasn't where I wanted to be in life. I was struggling financially, working odd jobs, and feeling like I was going nowhere fast. But I had big dreams of being successful, of making an impact, of living a life that was meaningful. But guess what? I kept telling myself that I'd start working on those dreams once I had more money, once I had more security, once the perfect opportunity came along. One evening I was sitting in my small apartment, looking at a pile of bills, and something hit me. I had been waiting for a miracle, for something outside of me to change. But then I realized that if I kept waiting, I'd be in the same place 5 years from now. Nothing was going to change unless I changed. That night I made a decision. It wasn't the perfect time. I didn't have all the answers. But I made a decision to start right then and there with what I had. I began small. I started studying, reading, learning from others who had achieved success. I didn't have all the tools, but I worked with what I had. And do you know what happened? Momentum started to build. Slowly at first, but eventually my life began to change in ways I could never have imagined. It wasn't about waiting for the perfect moment, it was about making the moment perfect by taking action. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting for everything to be just right before they act. They say, I'll start my business when I have more money, or I'll work on my health when I have more time, but here's the thing. Life is messy. It's never going to be the perfect time. You have to act in spite of the imperfections, in spite of the obstacles, and in spite of your fears. When I decided to stop waiting and start acting, my life changed. I didn't know everything, and I certainly didn't have the best resources, but I used what I had, and that's all you need to do. Start where you are with what you have, and you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. Not everything went perfectly, of course. I remember my very first seminar. I had been invited to speak to a small group about personal development. I was excited, but I was nervous too. I thought, this is my big break. But when I arrived at the venue, only a handful of people showed up. I could have been discouraged. I could have thought, well, maybe I'm not ready for this. Maybe I should wait until I have a bigger following or better marketing. But instead, I took that moment, small as it was, and I made the best of it. I poured my heart into that talk as if I was speaking to a room full of 1,000 people. And you know what happened? One person in that small audience came up to me afterward and said, that was exactly what I needed to hear. That one person made all the difference. From that moment on, I realized it's not about how big the moment is, it's about what you make of it. Even small moments can have a profound impact if you treat them like they matter. Every major change in your life begins with a decision. It doesn't matter how much planning or preparation you do until you decide to take action, nothing happens. But here's the thing. The decision itself doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to know every step of the journey before you start walking. You just need to decide to take that first step. When I made that decision in my apartment all those years ago, I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know how I was going to achieve my dreams. But the decision to start to do something, anything, set me on a path that changed my life. Your power lies in your ability to decide right now to take control of your own destiny. After I made the decision to change my life, I found myself surrounded by people who could help guide me. One such person was a man named Earl Shoah. Earl became my mentor, and he taught me some of the most important lessons about life and success. But do you know how I met him? I didn't wait for the perfect moment. I went out and sought out people who had the knowledge I needed. I made the moment happen. One day I asked Earl, what's the secret to success? He looked at me and said, Jim, success is something you attract by the person you become. That hit me hard. I realized that success wasn't something I could just wait for. It was something I had to work on becoming worthy of. That was a turning point in my life. From that day forward, I focused on becoming a better version of myself, and that's when real opportunities started coming my way. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that the big moments are the ones that matter, but in reality, it's the small, everyday moments that shape your life. Each day is filled with opportunities to learn, to grow, to take action. Don't wait for some grand event to change your life. The real change happens in the little decisions you make every day. Whether you're facing a challenge at work, dealing with a personal issue, or trying to figure out your next step in life, remember this: you don't need to wait for the perfect moment. Take the moment you have and make it perfect by putting in the work, by making the right decisions, and by staying committed to your goals. So here's the question I have for you. What are you waiting for? Are you still holding out for that perfect moment? If so, I'm here to tell you that the perfect moment is right now. You don't need more time, more money, or more experience. You just need to take action. Think about where you want to be 5 years from now. Do you want to look back and see that you were still waiting? Or do you want to look back and see that you took the moment you had and made it perfect? The choice is yours, and it's a choice you can make today. Remember, success isn't about waiting for the right conditions. It's about taking imperfect moments and turning them into opportunities. It's about making a decision, taking action, and never looking back. So what will you do? Will you keep waiting, or will you take the moment and make it perfect? The power is in your hands, and the time is now. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll do it tomorrow," only to wake up and realize that tomorrow never came? Procrastination, the silent enemy of success, has a sneaky way of stealing your dreams, your goals, and ultimately your future. Today, we're going to uncover the devastating impact of procrastination, and more importantly, how you can break free from its grasp and take control of your life. I'll also share a personal story from my life where procrastination almost cost me everything. Let me ask you something. What's the real price of procrastination? It's not just about delaying tasks or putting off projects. It's about delaying your future. Every time you put off something important, you're pushing back your own potential. You're pushing back your goals, your dreams, and ultimately your success. Procrastination is one of the most dangerous habits we can fall into because it feels so harmless in the moment. "I'll do it later," we say. But later turns into days, weeks, months, even years. And suddenly we find ourselves stuck, wondering where the time went and why we haven't achieved what we set out to do. Procrastination is the thief of time, and time, my friends, is your most valuable resource. I remember a time early in my career when I had a big opportunity in front of me. I was tasked with writing a proposal for a major client, one that could take my business to the next level. But you know what I did? I kept putting it off. I told myself, "I'll get to it tomorrow. I need more time to prepare," or "I'm not ready yet." Each day I delayed, convincing myself I needed the perfect conditions to start. Well, days turned into weeks, and before I knew it, the deadline was right in front of me. I had no choice but to scramble to put something together. I submitted the proposal, but deep down I knew it wasn't my best work. I had let procrastination rob me of the time I needed to create something truly great. And guess what? I didn't get the client. That failure was a wake-up call. It taught me a valuable lesson. Procrastination doesn't just delay your progress, it can sabotage it completely. Now let's dig a little deeper. Why do we procrastinate? Is it because we're lazy? No, it's often because of fear. Fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, or even fear of success. We tell ourselves that we need more time, that we're not ready, that the conditions aren't right. But in reality, we're just scared to take the first step. When I kept putting off that proposal, it wasn't because I didn't want to do it. It was because I was afraid I wouldn't do it well. So I delayed, I waited. And in doing so, I lost the opportunity. The first step in defeating procrastination is recognizing that it often stems from fear. Once you understand that, you can start to overcome it. I remember having a conversation with my mentor, Earl Showoff, about procrastination. I told him about how I had put off that big project and lost the opportunity. Earl listened, and then he said something that stuck with me for the rest of my life. He said, "Jim, the longer you wait to do something, the harder it becomes to do it." That was such a simple statement, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. He was right. The more I delayed, the more I built up the task in my mind. It became this big, overwhelming thing that I didn't want to face. But had I just taken that first small step, it wouldn't have been so daunting. Earl's advice was clear: stop waiting, start doing. The second key to defeating procrastination is understanding the power of momentum. Have you ever noticed that once you finally start a task, it's not as hard as you thought it would be? That's because of momentum. The hardest part is always the beginning, once you get moving. The task becomes easier, you get into a flow, and before you know it, you've made more progress than you imagined. When I finally started working on that proposal, the first few minutes were tough, but once I got into it, I found my rhythm. The same goes for anything in life. The first step is always the hardest, but it's also the most important. Once you take that step, you start to build momentum, and that momentum can carry you to success. I used to think that success was all about big wins, landing the major client, making a huge sale, or achieving a monumental goal. But what I've learned is that success is actually built on small wins. It's the little victories that give you the confidence and momentum to keep going. There was a time when I was overwhelmed by a mountain of tasks. I didn't know where to start, so I procrastinated. But then I remembered something Earl told me: break it down into small, manageable pieces, so I did. I picked one small task and got it done. That gave me the momentum I needed to tackle the next task and then the next. Before I knew it, I had made significant progress. Those small wins added up to big results. One of the biggest reasons we procrastinate is because we're afraid of failing. But here's the thing: failure is not the enemy of success. In fact, failure is a necessary part of success. Every successful person has failed many times. The difference is they didn't let failure stop them. When I lost that client because I procrastinated, it was a failure. But I didn't let it define me. Instead, I learned from it. I learned that procrastination was holding me back, and I made a commitment to change. Failure isn't something to be afraid of, it's something to learn from. The only real failure is not starting. So here's the question: what are you putting off right now? What goal, what dream, what task have you been delaying? The time to act is now. Don't let procrastination steal another moment of your life. Don't wait for the perfect conditions. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start today. And let the power of momentum carry you forward. Remember, the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to act. But once you take that first step, you'll find that the task isn't as difficult as you imagined. You'll build confidence. You'll build momentum. And most importantly, you'll build success. So don't let procrastination be the enemy of your success. Take action now. Your future depends on it. What will you do with this moment? Will you continue to procrastinate, or will you take control of your future? The choice is yours. But remember this: the only thing standing between you and your dreams is the action you take today. Have you ever wondered deep in your thoughts, where do I fit in? What's my purpose here? You see, most of us go through life asking these questions, looking for the answer as if it's some hidden treasure that only the lucky few discover. But what if I told you that your place isn't something you find by chance? What if I told you that your place in this world is something you create, shape, and build with every action you take? Think about it for a moment. How much time do we spend waiting for the perfect conditions, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect moment to move forward in life? How often do we hold back, thinking we need to be more ready, more capable, or more experienced before we take that leap? But here's the reality: don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the moment and make it perfect. We've all been there, haven't we? Waiting for that one thing to happen that will give us the green light to pursue our dreams. Waiting for that external validation that will make us feel worthy of success. We tell ourselves, once I get that promotion, then I'll be happy, or when the kids are older, then I'll go after what I really want. But if you continue waiting for the perfect conditions, you'll wait your entire life. Here's the truth: there is no perfect moment. Perfection is an illusion. And if you're waiting for perfection, you're wasting time. The most successful people didn't wait for the stars to align or for everything to fall into place. They seized the moment and made it their own. They worked with what they had, where they were, and they figured things out along the way. You see, life rewards action, not intention. It's easy to have dreams and goals. It's easy to plan and strategize, to talk about what you're going to do someday, but the real difference between those who succeed and those who don't is action. Taking the moment and making it perfect. Let me ask you something: what does it really mean to find your place? Many people think it means finding a job, a career, or a role where you feel comfortable, secure, and settled. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about finding the place where you can fully express who you are, where you can use your unique talents and abilities to make an impact on the world. Your place is where you thrive, not just survive. To find your place, you have to start by knowing who you are. And I don't mean knowing your job title, your qualifications, or your achievements. I mean knowing yourself at your core. What do you stand for? What are your values? What are your passions? What drives you to get up every morning and keep going, even when things get tough? Because here's the secret: your place in this world will always align with your true self. If you're living a life that isn't aligned with who you are, you'll always feel like something's missing. You'll always feel out of place. But when you're living in harmony with your values, your purpose, and your passion, you'll find that your place comes naturally. The idea that you have to find your place is one of the biggest myths holding people back. It makes it sound like your place is somewhere out there waiting to be discovered, as if it's a hidden secret that you have to unlock. But the reality is, you don't find your place, you create it. Let me explain what I mean by that. Your place in this world isn't predetermined. It's not something you're destined to stumble upon one day. Your place is something you carve out through your actions, your decisions, and your persistence. It's something you create by taking risks, making mistakes, and learning along the way. Think of the most successful people you know, whether in business, sports, the arts, or any other field. They didn't wait for someone to hand them an opportunity. They created their own opportunities. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They took the moments they had and made them perfect. And you can do the same. Let's talk about the first step. Often the hardest part of creating your place in the world is simply getting started. There's fear. There's uncertainty. There's the voice in the back of your head that says, what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if it doesn't work out? But here's the thing, the first step is always the hardest, but it's also the most important. You don't need to know the entire path before you start. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to take the first step, and then the next, and then the next. Each step you take will bring you closer to finding your place. And with each step, you'll gain more confidence, more clarity, and more momentum. So let me ask you, what's the first step you need to take? Maybe it's a phone call you've been putting off. Maybe it's a skill you need to learn. Maybe it's simply making the decision that you're going to start living in alignment with your true purpose. Whatever it is, take that first step today. Don't wait, don't hesitate. Take the moment and make it perfect. One of the biggest obstacles to finding your place is the fear of judgment. We worry about what others will think. We're afraid that if we step outside the norm, people will criticize us or reject us. But here's what I want you to remember. The opinions of others don't define your worth, and they don't determine your success. Think about it. How often do we hold ourselves back because we're afraid of what others might say? We play it safe, we stick to what's familiar, and we avoid taking risks. But living your life based on the opinions of others is a surefire way to never find your place. Because your place isn't where others tell you to be, it's where you choose to be. Understand this, you will be judged no matter what you do. People will always have opinions, but those opinions don't pay your bills, they don't live your life, and they certainly don't define your potential. So stop worrying about what others think and start focusing on what you want to create. Finding your place is a journey, not a destination. It's not about arriving at a point where everything falls perfectly into place and you feel like you've made it. It's about constantly evolving, constantly growing, and constantly pushing yourself to reach new heights. Along the way, you'll face challenges, you'll encounter obstacles. But each challenge you overcome will bring you one step closer to where you belong. Each failure is a lesson. Each setback is an opportunity for growth. And every time you push through, you're creating your place in this world. Remember, finding your place isn't a one-time event, it's a lifelong process. As you grow, your place will evolve. As you change, so will your purpose. But as long as you're taking action, as long as you're moving forward, you'll continue to create a life that aligns with who you are. Let me tell you something about persistence. Many people give up right before they're about to make a breakthrough. They try for a while, but when they don't see immediate results, they quit. But the people who succeed, the people who truly find their place in this world, are the ones who keep going even when it gets tough. Persistence is what separates those who merely dream from those who achieve. It's the difference between talking about your goals and actually reaching them. When you're on the journey to finding your place, you will face setbacks. You will have moments of doubt, but if you keep going, if you refuse to give up, you will succeed. Remember this, the people who seem to have found their place in life aren't necessarily the most talented or the most lucky. They're the ones who kept going when others quit. They're the ones who decided that no matter what, they would take the moment and make it perfect. Your place in the world isn't something you find by following someone else's path. It's something you create by forging your own way. It's about stepping away from the crowd and having the courage to do things differently.
Your journey is unique and your place will be too.
Don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to take risks. And don't be afraid to fail, because every failure brings you one step closer to success. Every time you push through fear, you're creating the life you were meant to live. So are you ready to find your place? Are you ready to stop waiting and start creating? Because the truth is, your place is already waiting for you. It's not somewhere far off in the future, it's here, right now, in the choices you make and the actions you take today.